Ranking characters based on strength is something that every single shonen anime fan has taken part of, and us JJK fans are by no means an exception to this rule. What's even better is when anime franchises have built-in ranking systems to give us an idea of who we should be comparing. Now, while these are definitely helpful, they don't typically dive into the specifics of how characters of the same strength rating match up against each other. In this video, we will explain every special grade sorcerer and give a rough ranking of how they match up. Now, by rough ranking, I mean that these are all my opinion and they could probably go either way at any time. Alright, let's start off with our lowest ranked special grade sorcerer, Yuki Tsukumo. Yuki is the least shown sorcerer on this list and has never really been in a fight that we can accurately judge her skills by. Alright, that's not entirely true. We can absolutely judge some of her skills by the fight with Kenjaku, but we don't exactly know where Kenjaku lines up either because he never had really like a fair fight. But anyway, let's just go on with it. Like I said, these rankings are not set in stone. Like I said, we obviously see Kenjaku lose later to Takaba and Yuta, but their victory was more circumstantial and plan based than actual like one-on-one skill based, in my opinion. Kenjaku openly admits that he would lose against Gojo in a one-on-one fight, but he could probably take on any other special grade sorcerer, so there's an idea. The Kusakabe group decided to throw a wild card at him, which was Takaba, and obviously this distraction lasted just long enough for Yuta to swoop in and decapitate Kenjaku. Now, why am I on this big long tangent about Kenjaku? Oh yeah, Yuki versus Kenjaku. This fight was pretty awesome and showed us the only time we ever actually got to see Yuki in action. Much like the Takaba fight, we see Yuki, Tengen, and Choso cook up a plan to take on Kenjaku. Yuki uses her Star Rage innate technique to bolster her physical form and her Shikigami Garuda. She does this by adding virtual or imaginary mass to her and her Shikigami. This imaginary mass increases her hit power and it also increases Garuda's density. She uses Garuda as a curse tool, and one time in that fight against Kenjaku, we see her use it as like a soccer ball. It's a soccer ball with a lot of mass though, because it tears right through Kenjaku. Well, it doesn't tear through him, but it hits him really hard. You know what I mean. What it does tear apart are Kenjaku's curse spirits and Urame's ice. Anyway, this fight basically shows us that Yuki is goated, but she's not quite Kenjaku level. She uses simple domain to counter Kenjaku's domain because while she has a domain, it likely doesn't compare to Kenjaku's like in strength, but she also had a plan cooked up with Tengen to make Kenjaku open his domain expansion up so that Tengen could like dispel the barrier from the outside. It's a whole long section of the manga. Now, it should also be noted that Yuki does have access to a reverse curse technique, but she refuses to use it in this battle for some reason, at least at certain points. She just likes it rough, apparently. That's literally what she says. It's kind of weird. Now, by the end, whenever it's evident she's gonna lose to Kenjaku, she starts adding virtual mass to herself. So much so that her body becomes a black hole. The only way that Kenjaku escapes this self-destruct technique is by using Kaori Itadori's anti-gravity curse technique that he has because, you know, he inhabited Yuji's mom's body. Anyway, this allowed him to reverse the effects of the gravity that the Yuki black hole created so he can escape. Even though he barely escaped, it was really close. He only escaped because this anti-gravity power was literally the perfect counter to Yuki's black hole technique. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, Yuki might deserve to be above the person that's next on this list, which is Suguru Geto. Now, everyone knows all about Geto. He was Gojo's best friend and rival and this and that. See, growing up, Geto was considered completely equal with Gojo until Gojo fought Toji, got stabbed, and, you know, completely leveled up from that point forward. But then he had a mental breakdown. Geto did. And went to do all this stuff. I won't go too in depth about Geto's fall to the dark side because I've done an entire video on that, so you can check that out whenever you want to. But Geto's powers were truly special. They were special enough that the 1,000-year-old being Kenjaku deemed his body a worthy vessel. Geto had crazy amounts of cursed energy. We can tell this by looking at the massive amounts of curses that Geto could manipulate using his innate technique, curse manipulation. Curse manipulation lets Geto exercise and consume cursed spirits in order for later use as offensive power of his own. Geto can absorb and even use special grade curses, although this may be difficult in some circumstances. He can absorb curses that are 2 grades lower than his, which would be grade 2 and lower, with little to no difficulty, but special grade are different. He might struggle with the absorption of them. What he can do though is he can extract the curse techniques of semi-grade 1 cursed spirits and use them later on. Now this was more of a Kenjaku technique, but we can assume that Geto could do it as well. Whether he did or not, I don't really know. I guess he did because he used it in the Uzumaki. But anyway, after Geto turned to the dark side, he got super powerful. He collected over 6,000 cursed spirits whenever he was the leader of his temple thing, where he just had, you know, humans with curses that inhabited their bodies or haunted them or whatever you want to call it come to him, and he would exorcise them and collect him. He used most of these in the night parade of 100 demons. Some of the more notable curses that we see Geto use include the hookworm curse, the giant stingray, the rainbow dragon, Kuchisaki Onna and Tamamo no Mai incarnate, both imaginary vengeful cursed spirits, and the huge pelican curse that he rides around on. Now, the only fight of his that really matters when it comes to scaling him was his fight against Yuta Okkotsu. Yes, he did fight Toji and he lost, but that's to be expected. Literally the only person in the world that stood a chance against Toji was an awakened Gojo, and even that can kind of be chalked up to surprise. Anyway, Geto singled out Yuta during the night parade of 100 demons so that he could try and absorb Rika, who was the vengeful curse spirit partner of Yuta. She was literally known as the Queen of Curses. If Geto actually succeeded in absorbing her, then he'd be way too powerful. Nevertheless, he didn't succeed. He used lots of cursed spirits and taijutsu, including like the use of the playful cloud nunchucks or whatever you call them. But Yuta and Rika were pretty much an unshakable duo. It came down to one final versus attack. Geto's maximum Uzumaki versus a rage-filled Rika blast. This Uzumaki of Geto's contained the power of 4,461 curses, if that tells you anything. Rika's power still outclassed all of this attack power from the Uzumaki, and it left Geto fatally wounded for Gojo to finish off. Pause. In my opinion, this just proves that he should be lower than the next person on this list, Yuta. Now, real quick before we get to Yuta, we do have two honorable mentions. First off, Kenji Hikari would probably be considered special grade if he hadn't left Tokyo High, or now if the entire Jujutsu Society hadn't, crumbled. Hikari is a hardcore gambler, and his power perfectly reflects that. Before we get to that, his cursed energy is insane. It has an edge to it, so it tears up his opponents regardless of the actual power of his attack. Yuji even says it feels like he's getting hit with a serrated bat. Just like think of the barbed wire bat from Walking Dead. His innate technique is technically called Private Pure Love Train, which is the name of the pachinko game which his innate technique is based off of. Now for the gambling. Idle Death Gamble is the name of his domain expansion, and it allows him to pop his domain in 0.2 seconds. The point of the domain is to gamble and to hit the jackpot, which grants him unlimited cursed energy and fully automatic healing via reverse curse technique. This lasts for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, so you can just imagine what he can do in that amount of time. And after the timer's up, he can pretty much just pop it right after, so you can imagine how strong this is. I'm not even going to attempt to explain this one even further because the specifics of this go way over my head, but just know that this dude definitely deserves to be a special grade. The other honorable mention we have is Yuji by the end of the Sukuna fight. Yuji has leveled up more in this fight and right before this fight against Sukuna more than pretty much anybody has since Gojo's evolution after his first fight with Toji. Where do we even begin? Yuji is the child of Kinjaku and the reincarnated soul of Sukuna's twin brother that Sukuna consumed in the womb. So Yuji was pretty much destined for greatness. He has super strength and speed, some of the best taijutsu in JJK, and now he has a plethora of cursed techniques and abilities. His Divergent Fist and Black Flash capabilities were enough to carry him until Shinjuku, but now he knows the likes of blood manipulation like Chozo, Shrine like Sukuna, Reverse Curse Technique, Simple Domain, and now his own domain expansion. Now I won't dive too deep into the specifics of this because this is going to be its own video. It's going to be the next video on this channel, so you can check that out after this one. But Yuji uses this insane kit to take on Sukuna, along with the help of his friends, but he literally beats Sukuna, so he does deserve special grade, in my opinion. Alright, so we've already said our runner-up is Yuta. Yuta's kit is strange nowadays. We've learned a lot more about his copy technique since he started fighting against Sukuna. As we said, he and his partner Curse Spirit Rika defeated Suguru Geto, so that automatically places him above Geto. Now, Yuki could be above Geto too, but this is mainly an explanation video and the ranking is kind of up to you. It may be called a ranking video, but I'm not sure because we just don't know. After this, we see Yuta literally kill Yuji temporarily and begin his role in the culling game. He swears to kill Kenjaku so that his master Gojo doesn't have to go through the pain of killing his best friend Geto again, and Yuta follows through with that. Throughout the culling game, he also fights against the heavy hitters like Kuro Rushi, Dhruv Lagdwala, Rie Ishigori, and Takako Uro, and he single-handedly defeats all of them. Ryu goes so far as to say that Yuta's strength is pretty much greater than almost anyone he's ever fought, past or present. Yuta's biggest challenge comes when he faces down Sukuna after he's already killed Kenjaku. He shows up and he shows out. That is until Sukuna pulls out some binding vows and, Yuta-specific counter moves that we didn't even know existed until that. He literally cuts Yuta in half. It's kind of tough for old buddy. On his deathbed, though, Yuta's able to use Kenjaku's curse technique that he copied and transplant his brain into Gojo's body, and then goes for round 2. He does a lot of damage to Sukuna before he burns out Gojo's limitless technique, and this amount of time that he bought Yuji and the others is crucial to the defeat of Sukuna. So how could he do all this stuff? First of all, he has Rika, who is very powerful all on her own. His partner curse spirit. She also serves as kind of like a storage unit for all of Yuta's copied curse techniques. His innate technique is copy, which allows him to copy curse techniques of other people, but we don't know the exact mechanics of it. We kind of think now that he has to consume part of that individual to gain the curse technique. Some of these copied curse techniques that we see him use include Dhruv Lakdwala's Shikigami, curse speech like Inumaki, Takako Uro's thin icebreaker, Angel's Jacob's ladder, Sukuna's cleave, Kenjaku's transplant technique, Gojo's limitless, and more. Along with these, his domain expansion Authentic Mutual Love lets him use swords within his barrier that contain the copied curse techniques of all these people. It's pretty much an awesome domain, and one that we can only see Yuta use because it uses his copies so perfectly. Finally, we know that Yuta is a very, very proficient user of reverse curse technique, much like his master Gojo, who's next on this list. I mean, we all saw this coming, right? The only man in the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen that could single-handedly give Sukuna a run for his money is Gojo. Yuji does a lot later on, but he has the help of his friends. Now, Gojo literally dog walks everyone in the series except for Sukuna. It's not even close. There is no question who is the strongest special grade sorcerer. Now, Gojo's #1 mission in life after the dark side turning of Geto was to strengthen the next generation, and that he did. He was not only the mentor of our runner-up Yuta, but also both of our honorable mentions, Kenji Hikari and Yuji. Now, one thing that Gojo says that I simply don't agree with is that Yuta has the potential to surpass him. Now, we've seen both of them fight. We've seen both of them fight at the peak of their potential, like against Sukuna. And I don't think Yuta's got it. If we were to see a sequel where Yuta spends the next 10 years training to be as strong as Gojo, maybe he could reach that potential, but I just don't see it. I really think Gojo is the strongest we're going to see in the series. Yuji could. I think Yuji could pass Gojo. I really don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Now, since you probably want to hear all about Gojo's powers, like I've talked about all the others, you should check out this video linked on screen right here. I've already talked about all of Gojo's powers in it. Go check it out right here. And until next time, peace.